Hey everybody, welcome back to the Midday Go Show. I'm your host, Maddie Hag, and today we're talking about some spooky Christmas movies. I feel like in the last few years that spooky Christmas movies have kind of come into a little bit more of popularity, or maybe some old obscure ones are kind of seeing the light of day again. Either way, I'm more aware of horror Christmas movies now than I ever was before, and I wanted to share with you 5 spooky Christmas movies that you can easily find on most of the major streaming platforms. For each of the 5 movies, I'm going to give you a list of what streaming services you can find them on in the description down below, so after the video, make sure you check that out. So the first spooky Christmas movie I want to talk about today is a movie out of Finland called Rare Exports. I feel like this movie uses Santa Claus in a completely different way than I've ever seen in any Christmas movie and Christmas horror movie, and in a way, I feel like it's very similar to, at least in my impression, like a Mummy movie. And I mean that because he's like this supernatural force that's able to take control of so much that's around him, but is also subject to the people that are coming after him. And it uses this character, Santa Claus, that's so familiar and very defined and completely breaks it, while also keeping some of the lore that goes along with the character of Santa Claus. I don't know, I thought it was strange, I thought it was spooky, and I definitely think you should check it out. Number 2 on my list for this year is a movie called Better Watch Out. Again, trying not to give away too much, I feel like Better Watch Out is the product of somebody watching Home Alone and wondering if they can turn it into a slasher movie. Better Watch Out is the kind of movie that I feel like has some genuinely funny moments while also being great at building tension and creating these really uncomfortable bits and pieces all throughout. Honestly, I loved it the first time I watched it, and I feel like it's become one of my regular gotta watch it every year kind of movies. But yeah, Better Watch Out. You ought to check it out. Number 3 on the list this year is the original Black Christmas from 1974. This is one of the first holiday slashers, which predates the original Halloween by at least 4 years, I believe. Along with being one of the first holiday slasher movies, this is one of the first The Call is Coming from Inside the House movies. And as much as I feel like telling you that is kind of a spoiler, you also find it out like within the first 5 minutes of the movie. For as much as it predates the original Halloween movie and really the advent of the slasher genre of horror films, I feel like it really does fit along with the rest in its own right. I mean, a psychopath guy sets his eyes on a sorority house and starts taking them out one by one. There you go. Couple fun facts about this movie. The character Barb is played by Margot Kidder, who played Lois Lane in the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. And the director of the movie, Bob Clark, roughly 10-ish years later went on to direct another Christmas movie called A Christmas Story. 2 very different movies, but frankly, I can't say I would be closed off to doing a double feature of both. Number 4 on my list this year is a movie called Jack Frost. Not the one with Michael Keaton, one that I feel like is trying to be Twin Peaks. Frankly, this is probably one of my first risque kind of suggestions, but it's a killer snowman movie. And with this strange phenomenon, you have an FBI agent show up to a small town working with the sheriff. I feel like the people that made this movie saw Twin Peaks and were like, let's do that, but make it a Christmas movie about a killer snowman. Also has one of the longest, strangest openings. You might start watching it and wonder, are you watching the right movie? Yes, you are. It's just a very weird opening for what proves to be a very weird movie. If you're watching a movie with Michael Keaton playing harmonica on stage, you're watching the wrong movie. That movie's terrifying in its own right, but not in the same ways as this one. That movie doesn't have anybody getting their head torn off with a sled. And coming in at number 5 for spooky Christmas movies to check out this year, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. Now you may be asking yourself, well, shouldn't I see Part 1 so I know what happens in Part 2? That sounds like a decent logic, but trust me when I say you truly do not need to see Part 1 to see Part 2, because you essentially will see Part 1 in Part 2. I don't want to explain how, you have to watch it. Even more than Jack Frost, this movie can get a little risque, if you know what I mean. So bear that in mind if you check it out. This is the age-old killer Santa story where a baby boy apparently witnesses his parents get killed by a Santa Claus on the side of the road, has an older brother grow up and become a killer Santa Claus himself, therefore influencing him to follow in his brother's footsteps and become a killer Santa Claus. A movie full of overacting, weird bits, but probably produced one of the most famous gifs in all of the horror genre. But yeah, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. Don't worry about seeing Part 1. You'd have to rent it if you were going to watch it anyway, and Part 2 is included with Prime. So check it out. Just bear in mind those, With that, those are my 5 spooky Christmas movies that I would recommend for you to watch this year that you can easily find on different major streaming services. I'm going to be providing a list of the different streaming services that you can find each movie on in the description below, so definitely check that out. Thank you so much for sticking around at the end of the video. If you liked it, hitting the like button doesn't hurt, and if you'd want to share it with your friends, you can do that. You're free to do that. And if you aren't subscribed already, well, what are you doing, dude? Anyway, I hope you're having a spooky Christmas season, and until next time, stay spooky, homies.